Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HP Podcast, episode number 340. I'm Ben, and with me here today, as always, are the most beautiful boys imaginable, Davey and Brandon. Brandon, I wanted to go to you first because I was just curious. Do you know Beavis and Butthead?
Yeah, of course.
Do you think you bear any similarities to Beavis?
I don't know. Do I?
I just think sometimes you popped on the camera and with the way your hair was, I was like, his hair kind of looks like Beavis.
Let me look at it.
Do it.
It's been a minute since I've seen it.
I mean, there's a lot of negative things you could say about Beavis and Butthead and their looks. That wasn't what I was referring to. I was just going for the hair. Like it just
the hair.
Just the hair.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
I can see it aside from it not really looking that much like it, but yeah, I can kind of see it if I like squint my eyes.
Yeah. How are you doing today, buddy?
Me?
Yeah.
Good, I guess. I don't know. I had the day off, so I just fucked around all day.
Do you feel good about that? Do you like when you have a whole day where you just do nothing, do you feel like that was refreshing or do you feel guilty?
Well, I washed my bedding, so I didn't do absolutely nothing, and I made myself dinner, so I guess I did something.
So do you feel fulfilled with those things?
No, I feel like I just woke up from a nap because I just woke up from a nap. That's how I actually feel. Yeah.
I go back and forth on that. Dave, welcome to the show as well. I don't know about you, but I feel sometimes when I do nothing for a day, which isn't very often, but it does happen occasionally, I'm like, wow, I could have done more things, fit more into that day. And other times I was like, man, I needed that.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, it's nice not doing anything sometimes, boys.
Dave, How do you
Oh,
feel?
you're throwing it to me. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So leading up to those days, I very much look forward to them, and then when I get to those days, I find myself doing nothing but looking for things to do. I get very restless. So, yeah. And then if I'm hungover, then I just do nothing. But
oh yeah, that's a totally different scenario. Yeah.
Yeah. But the hangover days are usually when you have things to do. So yeah, sucks.
But yeah. I find myself like most of the time not having time to do like a couple, like this project or that project that I need to get done. And then when I do have the time, I don't have the energy. So I guess
you want to do it, you don't have the time, and when you don't want to do it, you do have the time.
Maybe there's something to that too. Like I want to do it because I know I can't.
Right.
But when I can, what's the point?
Yeah. I feel you.
I don't like that.
Like so here's an example. Today I took a day off because it was my wife and I's fourth wedding anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you. Even though I had the day off and I had a vacation day, and your vacation days are supposed to be used as a day away from work, it still felt like a Wednesday, and it still felt like the middle of the week, and I was still checking my email and sending emails and stuff. So
yeah.
So even when you get those days to yourself, you don't use them in the way you're supposed to.
Yeah.
I find.
My job currently, we have like a unlimited PTO policy, which they try to put some definitions because most people who have unlimited PTO don't take as much time off as they would otherwise. So they're like, here's some rough parameters, but really, as long as your work gets done in some sort of reasonable time frame, take the day off if you need it. And like, we have a system for submitting that. I don't know if it really matters. And like, I have meetings that I would miss or whatever, but like, it's not uncommon for somebody to be like, hey, I can't make the meeting today 5 minutes before it starts. Like, it's not typical, but it's not crazy for that to happen. And I'm curious, like, I'm not going to do this because I'm way too anal and have way too much to do. But like, if I just took like days off here and there and just showed up for meetings, would anybody notice? I'm sure they would. But it's something to think about. I'm not going to do, like, seriously, that would give me so much paranoia if I did that. I don't think I could handle it, but, I'm convinced other people do it. Maybe not at my company, but there's plenty of places, especially remote work, where, like, people just don't show up for work.
The other weird thing, or the other thing that made this day off weird is my wife and I, our daughter was in daycare, so we wanted to have, like, a date day and like an old-fashioned date. So we went for lunch and got sushi, and then we went to a movie. I haven't been to a movie. The last movie I saw in theaters was Black Widow.
Yeah,
that came out a long time ago. That was like pre-COVID.
Was it really?
Yeah. And
wow,
we went. Sorry, no. I actually checked. This was 2021, so it was after COVID, but it was still 4 years ago. But I went to the movies and lunch near where I work. So I was like, what are the chances I run into somebody else who is also playing hooky or just, out at their lunchtime? So really couldn't focus on certain things. But I saw Superman. That movie was fucking awesome.
That's great. I saw it. I took the kids to see it.
I wouldn't call myself a Zack Snyder apologist, but I do think Man of Steel is the crown jewel of whatever the Zack Snyder DCU thing was. And I knew that tonally Superman was a much different movie. And I can't believe how much I loved it. Like, it was so good. Like, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, like, that was surprising.
It was very surprising.
Yeah, but really good movie. I hope there's more. I don't want a whole another universe, but if they did something with Batman, like, that would be cool. But yeah, it was really good.
I'm kind of with you there, Dave, on them not being a Zack Snyder apologist, but I like Man of Steel. Now, granted, there's like an inherent bias just because like I love Superman, I love superhero movies. Like, I'm probably gonna like it if it's not the worst possible thing. But with that said, like, I feel like even objectively, it was decent.
Now,
Edward Walton says Dave finally discovered what hope is.
Are you a Superman comic guy?
Yeah, I was. My mom was a Superman comic person growing up, so
I've read a number of Batman comics, but I've never really been into the Superman. I've heard this Superman movie was very true to the comics. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think there was probably a little bit more of a comedic element to this movie than diehard comic lovers would appreciate.
Right.
Like a little bit more slapsticky, but it didn't like betray the tone of the comics for sure.
Interesting.
I haven't read a Superman comic in 2 decades or more, but from what I remember, I had a lot of old stuff growing up from the early days of Superman. That's for sure. Right on track. Now, Dave, you mentioned something earlier that got me thinking. You said like it'd be interesting if when you went on your day off and you went to like near where you work, if you found someone else playing hooky. And I've just always had in my mind that playing hooky is not showing up when you're supposed to be. But like you took the day off, right? Did you take the day off or did you skip work?
I utilized a vacation day officially, but it's still running into somebody during work hours, and it wouldn't be a big deal, but it would still be for a couple seconds a little awkward. It's the middle of the day, and you're not on vacation, like you're just close to work. It's just weird. But
like if both of you had been actually playing hooky, neither one of you could have said anything.
It's just like the Bart Simpson scene with Principal Skinner.
I don't remember that one, but my dad used to tell a joke that was like this pastor decided to skip church on Sunday and go golfing, and he got a hole in one, and an angel asked God, "Why'd you let him do that?" And he said, "Who's he gonna tell?" This is the HP podcast. We talk about video games and Superman from time to time. We appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. If you're hanging out, whether you're here live, whether you're watching the show later, whether you're listening on podcast services, whatever you're doing, we appreciate it. If you want to help support us a little bit more, just go that little extra mile. You can do so over at patreon.com/handsomephantom and sign up for as little as $1 a month to help support the show. We appreciate it. And you can also join us on Discord at handsomephantom.com/Discord. Hang out with the Motley Crew, not the actual Motley Crew, our Motley Crew. And I don't know, get into some kind of trouble, probably. Boys, anything else before we get this show rolling? All right.
Do it. Oh, just compliments to Brandon's shirt. That's
I do like Brandon's shirt. Yes. Yeah.
Well done.
I've never seen the full series, but I've seen like the first season twice. I really like it. Is it done now? Are they still doing that show?
Yeah, they're still doing it. I think it's kind of went downhill, but
I feel like all shows, like after a period of time, they're just going to go
Rick
downhill.
And Morty for audience listeners or audio listeners.
Yes, thank you, Dave.
Yeah. But you should tune in to see the shirt because we're not going to describe it to you. But
that's right.
Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday night on YouTube. Ben is Handsome.
Thank you. According to, oh my gosh, this page just decided to reload on me for some reason. WindowsCentral.com, new data shows Xbox is utterly dominating PlayStation storefront, accounting for 60% of the Q2 top 10 game sales spots. The console war is over with PlayStation seemingly victorious, or perhaps it's just evolving. This is all a quote, by the way. This is from Jez Corden. It's no secret that Xbox hardware has seen non-stop declines for several months, although PlayStation itself has warned investors that it expects lower hardware sales through the rest of the gen. Indeed, as the end of the generation is in sight, it's probably only the advent of Grand Theft Auto 6 that could uptake console sales for PlayStation and Xbox until we inject new hardware into the mix. Microsoft and Sony both are working on new consoles with Xbox hardware plans, including OEM-built Xbox-branded PCs like the Xbox Ally, as well as true successors to the existing Xbox Series X and S console ecosystem in partnership with AMD. In the interim, Xbox has notoriously changed up its strategy. Faced with growing costs and a decline in console user growth in general, Xbox bit the bullet and decided to begin putting its formerly exclusive games onto its arch-rival PlayStation storefront. I'm just going to pause for a minute here and say this. I like Jez. I'm friendly with Jez. I don't know if we're friends, but we're at least like on good terms. We've been on podcasts together, whatever. This article, the way some of this wording is written is so clearly Xbox biased. It's hilarious to me, but it doesn't mean that it's not factually true. Anyway, there's a chart here and it shows Q2 2025 top 10 best-selling games on PlayStation platforms. Yada yada yada. 1, Forza Horizon 5. 2, Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered. 3, MLB The Show. There's a Sony one. 4, Call of Duty. 5, Doom Dark Ages. 6, Indiana Jones. 7, Minecraft. 8, Assassin's Creed Shadows. 9, Grand Theft Auto 6. Or 5, 5, WWE 2K25. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the top 10 slots on PlayStation are occupied by Microsoft at the moment. And I don't know, guys. It seems like even though Xbox is failing, maybe they're still making some money. What do you think, Dave?
Just before we get into it, I do want to point one thing out that's in the article, and it's kind of unrelated, but I kind of feel like the article understates that the impact that GTA will have on hardware sales. I think that the wording they used was it may have an uptick in hardware sales, but I honestly think GTA 6 is going to be like a boon for hardware sales when it comes out next year. So there's a lot of people still playing on PS4 and last gen stuff, and I think when it comes out, we're going to see considerable bumps in hardware sales. Maybe that's why we've seen some of the price increases, because maybe people are foreshadowing that somewhat. But just to echo what you said, Ben, like, gotta recognize the bias of this outlet, windowscentral.com, and JezCord in general. But I also think it's important to put in perspective that this is looking at Q2 specifically, and I don't really know that Sony had anything impactful that it released in this time frame. Not everything on this chart came out in Q2 or even Q1, but I still think, from a context standpoint, this is important to look at. But I think with this said, it's just kind of more evidence, and we've seen quite a bit of it, that Microsoft's new kind of publisher leaning strategy, rather than trying to sell hardware, is working, and it's bearing fruit for them, at least in the short term, because this is only an experiment that's a little over a year old. But I think it's also important to keep in mind that, well, this article is written in a very Microsoft is dominating way. Everybody's winning here. Microsoft is winning. Sony is selling more stuff in their ecosystem. Gamers everywhere can play whatever game they want, wherever they want. It's not restricted to one piece of hardware. So I think, it's just kind of important to kind of keep that in mind, is this is a good thing for everybody, because accessibility of games is very important. So I think the other thing that's interesting here is it kind of makes mention of, we've been made aware of Xbox's next gen plans, and they are planning on putting out another Xbox. And it just kind of seems like, if Microsoft should really consider going all in on, just being software, because this just goes to show even more that, people who are only playing on PlayStation, they're interested enough to buy these games that are slightly older, but not enough to go and buy an Xbox. So, I don't know what the selling point is for a next-gen Xbox, and I do think that it might be a good idea for Microsoft to kind of, obviously they wouldn't reconsider at this point, but I still don't really have a whole lot of faith in them from a hardware perspective next-gen. But again, at the end of the day, everybody's winning here, and that's clear.
Brandon, your thoughts on that? And also, Edward Walton points out correctly that only 2 of those games are new franchises on PlayStation for the first time. And specifically, when you get into, to reiterate what those 6 are, we've got Forza Horizon 5, new on PlayStation for the first time. Elder Scrolls, not new. Call of Duty, arguably you could say that it got its greatest boost on PlayStation before Microsoft bought them. Doom, not new. And Indiana Jones is new. Minecraft has obviously been around for a long time. But do you think that matters? It doesn't really matter, right?
I think it matters in, like, through the lens of this article. Things like, a remake, Call of Duty, which, albeit is a Microsoft-owned property right now. For the sake of the argument, I don't really feel like that's really meaningful, because it's gonna come out no matter what and chart no matter what. And something like Minecraft, that is another thing that just charts no matter what and is there no matter what. So really, once you remove those things, I mean, not that this isn't an impressive Q2 for Microsoft, but I understand what narrative, let's say, this guy is trying to push, more or less. I think Dave brings up a really good point that the Q2 for Sony maybe wasn't quite as strong as some of the things that came out around Q2 this year for Microsoft.
Did PlayStation even release anything first party in Q2?
I'm trying to think of something, but really, I mean, that 30% that that 30% that Sony is getting, like, they are not worried about it, really. And I don't know, does it even mention anything about that in this article? So I don't know, really, it's just like, I hate to be like everyone's winning, just like Dave said, but the reality is this is a good thing. And Radix making fun of us in chat saying, well, everyone games, but that's the truth. It's not a bad thing, and I don't think either Microsoft or PlayStation are thinking much about it other than lining their pockets, because that's what's happening here. So
yeah, it is. Call of Duty, obviously Microsoft is getting more of every copy sold on Xbox and PC. They're getting 100% versus 30% that they were getting for console before, but they weren't getting anything for copies sold on PlayStation, which is probably the largest console platform for sure, for the game. And now they're making money on it that they wouldn't have ever seen otherwise. And again, that 100% versus 30% on Xbox is huge. Of course, they're making money from Doom. That's been a few years now, but that they weren't making before. Indiana Jones is new, so they're obviously pulling in 30% that didn't exist before. Forza, same thing. And Elder Scrolls, kind of the same thing as Call of Duty. So they're definitely making more money on these titles being on PlayStation than they would have not being on PlayStation. There's no doubt about that. Any other thoughts there?
No. I'm really tempted to buy Forza Horizon again just for the platinum.
I thought about it too, Dave. I'm going to be honest with you. I want it to go on sale at some point. I don't know if it will, just because of...
It will at some point, yeah.
It has been already. Like,
has it?
Not much.
How low? Yeah.
Like 20% maybe.
Okay. I've thought about buying it again too, just to kind of romp around on the couch with it again. Would be really fun. I wonder how hard the platinum is. I should look it up before I buy it.
I was going to ask that. It's not interesting to me that it's doing well. It is interesting to me that it's sticking at the top spot. Because that game has been out so long. I know it's the first time on PlayStation, but it's not a new game.
It's also one of the best. So I mean, I think it's a hunger that has not been quenched in that way for a long time.
Right. A couple, questions from chat. Poot asked, did someone steal all your hats? I don't think so. I don't know what that means. Have I not been wearing hats lately on camera?
Sometimes you wear hats, Ben.
I wear hats sometimes, and sometimes I don't.
I don't know if you know this. Tonight, you're not wearing a hat.
I did know that. I'm not wearing a hat tonight. I tend to wear a hat more often when my hair's long and I don't feel like doing anything. Not that I do anything to it, really, but like if it looks gross, disheveled, I wear a hat often more times than not. But the real thing, he says, do you have any current gauge on the PS player activity in Sea of Thieves? No, I don't. I don't have any idea. I don't know what else to say there. No, I don't. Already got Gears for free in Xbox. Might buy it on PS5 too. Interesting, Derek. Interesting strat. Why play it for free when you can pay money for it,
That's an interesting example, though, because when Gears comes to Xbox, it's coming to Xbox. Or sorry, when Gears comes to PlayStation, which it is, right?
Yep.
A game like that, it's like that's going to revitalize the lobbies, and like a game with a heavy online kind of game mode like that's a good reason, in my opinion, to jump back in, even at full price.
Yeah. Well, that's all rebuilt too. So
yeah.
The new one's coming to PlayStation, though, we assume. I don't know if we know that confirmed. Gears on PS5 for the novelty. And the novelty's worn off for me already. I'm like, I've been seeing PlayStation and Xbox logos on PC for years.
I think the only thing that'll get me is when the Master Chief Collection comes to PS5. I'll probably just buy it on there. Who knows if I'll even play it.
Yeah, I think
just
I'm done playing shooters on consoles when possible, but I still understand your point. Yeah. All right, let's talk about Nintendo, Brandon's favorite topic. We've got a pricing update, another pricing update from Nintendo. This comes directly from the Nintendo website. It says pricing for the original Nintendo Switch family of systems and products will change in the United States based on market conditions effective August 3rd. So this has already gone into place. These include Nintendo Switch OLED model, Nintendo Switch Lite, and Nintendo Switch accessories. Other Nintendo products, including certain Nintendo Switch 2 accessories, Select Amiibo, and the Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo, will also see adjustments. And of course, we got some of those adjustments. They're not like crazy out of line with what you would imagine a price increase would be. But boys, it's pretty interesting. I know that a lot of this has to do with tariffs and market conditions and all that kind of stuff. But kind of wild this far into the game to be seeing an 8-year-old console be more expensive at retail than it was at launch. Brandon, how does this make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I understand the whole bit of the market changing. Obviously, everything in the world is more expensive. We've been seeing across the board things going up in the video game world, but um, I really wonder if this is a ploy to get people to to entice people to buy their newest console if they can make the old one close in price. Who at this point in their right mind would buy a Switch 2? What's the price difference? $100?
Looking right now,
It's like 200, isn't it?
no, the Nintendo Switch is now $400, or no, $339, which is $40 higher than it was. Switch Lite is now $299 or $229, which it was $200. OLED is $399. It was $350, so it went up $50.
So it's $399 and the new one's $500.
$450, unless you want Mario with it bundled.
Right. Who the fuck would buy a Switch 1 at this point? If you want the flagship of last generation. I mean, most people, assumingly, unless you want a pure handheld experience and want the cheaper version, it makes the most sense now. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, boys. Usually when consoles go through this late of a life cycle, the cost to make them goes down over time.
Oh.
So like that even furthermore doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know what you guys think, but it really kind of seems like they might be trying to soft persuade people into their new ecosystem, which I guess makes sense. And I guess a company like Nintendo could do that. I mean, they pioneered the fucking, the $80 experience, but like people are going to buy it anyway. And I still think, unlike other consoles at this point in its life cycle, I would imagine the Switch 2 is still selling exponentially well for how late it's been out. So I don't know, maybe they're just trying to scoop in some extra money in the back end. I just can't imagine it's actually really costing them that much more. I feel like there has to be other factors at play here because I would imagine the cost would go down. What do you guys think?
I think you're probably right, Brandon, to an extent about them trying to draw people into their new ecosystem. But I think they probably do have a lot of old Switch hardware and hardware in general that they want to get rid of. We know that traditionally consoles continue to sell the last generation even after the new generation comes out. And we know that the tariffs are higher percentages than we're seeing prices increases. So they're absorbing some of that cost as well. Crazy thought for you here. I don't know if it's as much that they're trying to play some like weird mind game and get people just to be like, oh, it's only $150 more for the new one. As much as it is, Nintendo has always thought in very black and white terms. If our costs go up X, then our price, what we sell it for goes up X as well. Or maybe X minus a little, who knows? But I think it's just that like they think and operate in those very binary terms. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you guys kind of took a lot of the points that I
Sorry,
would have
Dave.
made. But I think the big thing to kind of build on what you guys are saying is I think the Switch 1 is still selling really well. And we don't always see this because, this 8 years after the launch of a console and you've got a new console out, oftentimes the old console is not selling this well. So you don't have to do this sort of thing, but I do think it's a kind of cooling off mechanism to get people to, want to move on to Switch 2 rather than buying the Switch 1, which honestly is it's just, as Brandon said, it's probably so cheaply made now, or in terms of, the technology has come down in price that they're still making good money on it, but you need people to buy your new console. So I just think the Switch 1 is still probably selling really, really well. The other thing is, this is tariffs. It just is. It's making all the Americans great. It's fantastic. You're gonna love it. Yep. But it's tariffs. The other thing is I guess I'll use the quote: "A high tide raises all ships." So we're seeing the prices of all the current gen stuff start to come up. If one person does it and there isn't mobs in the streets, then everybody's going to do it. And we've seen everybody do it, so Nintendo's going to follow suit. So I think it's kind of part of the resetting of the market that we've seen, where it's like there needs to be kind of an appropriate ratio between all of your hardware, whether it be the cutting edge cool stuff or the established stuff on the market. And I think this is part of that. But I think the biggest thing is just trying to get people to adopt Switch 2 over Switch 1, because I'm sure people are still buying that in many parts of the world, in parts of the world. So yeah.
It's now $9 million in Brazil.
Don't look at the Australian price.
Yeah.
It'll scare you.
Hardware is so expensive, gaming hardware specifically in Brazil, that it's a wonder there's so many Brazilian gamers, honestly. And many of them are running on old hardware too. But all right, now horses beat to death. Let's talk about Mafia: The Old Country. This comes from Twisted Voxel, and I want to comment. I want to talk about the news story first of all, and then I want to comment about something they say here. The estimated game length of 2K and Hangar 13's upcoming action-adventure game, Mafia: The Old Country, has been revealed. During an interview with Vortex.cz, the development team at Hangar 13 revealed the estimated game length for Mafia: The Old Country. It turns out that the upcoming action-adventure title is short, roughly similar in length and scope to Mafia Definitive Edition. The development team at Hangar 13 revealed that the main story in Mafia: The Old Country will have an approximate length of 10.5 hours, while the game will take around 13 hours to complete when factoring in all the side quests. Those who are getting discouraged by Mafia: The Old Country's short length and are wondering whether it's worth the investment, it's worth noting that it isn't a full-price title. The game will be available for $49.99 US, which should ease concerns some may have regarding value for money. Okay, so we've got the game length. We understand about how long it is. We know it's a $50 game. Dave, I'm imagining you picked out this news story, all these news stories, but you wrote this one up. I'm curious what your approach is on it, because to me, tell me I got 11 hours in a game and no more. I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty happy. What do you think?
Yeah, and I meant to kind of preface this before we went live, that the reason I picked this out is because I was hoping to have a larger conversation about game length, especially in narrative-driven games. So this is great. This makes it a more attractive day one purchase for me. I have not played any of the Mafia games, and but this being a prequel, it might be a good jumping in point. But 13 hours to now, this is the thing, is they said main story plus side. So when I think of this in howlongtobeat.com terms, that's the main plus extras. I don't know if that's completionist, but 13 hours, that for me, a man in his late 30s with a young daughter and a full-time job, like that's what I want. I want more of that. I don't want a game where it's like, in order for me to really feel like I've gotten bang for my buck, that I need to put hundreds of hours into this thing. Like, this is something where I can comfortably see everything in the game in probably about 20 hours. That for me is true value for money. So some of the reaction I've seen on this is not necessarily positive. But the other thing that this kind of brings up, which is interesting, is the pricing strategy. This game is coming out in a time, beginning of August. It's coming out later this week. Not a whole lot else coming out. Honestly, I think the biggest threat is the Battlefield 6 beta. But with that said, I kind of think like the price tag is too low. Like, I've seen, some of the pre-release footage of this game. Graphics look gorgeous. The storytelling, we know what the Mafia series does with storytelling. Excellent voice acting and writing. Like, I don't see why this isn't a full price game, especially coming out in August. Not a lot of competition. you'll sell a decent amount of copies, and then by the time you get to the holiday, then you start discounting. I feel like the perceived value of a $50 game, it kind of makes people look at games in a way like, am I playing DLC? Am I playing something that's not really a full-fledged experience? So, I'm happy to hear about the length of this game, but I do question the approach with the price tag. I'm happy I could buy this game day one and not have to pay $100, but from a business standpoint, I feel like this could be a full price game, and it would still do relatively well. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'll just interject real quick and say, I saw a list of all the stuff, all the big stuff, let alone all the millions of indies coming out in August. It's way more stacked than we thought, like even a month ago. And of course, we haven't even gotten into Gamescom, which I'm sure there'll be a couple shadow drops and everything like that. Brandon, though, I'll pitch it to you.
Yeah, I mean, Dave said it pretty well, honestly. I think that these types of games, the games of this length generally are kind of few and far between anymore. I feel like they have to pack so much, and it ends up being Ubisoft slop most of the time, is how I'd describe it. Just like unappealing, uninteresting content for meaningless reasons. So something that's super tight and super good looking and is a decent price. Pause, Dave. Pause. Jesus. It just got me flustered. I can't even think anymore. Jesus. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm definitely interested in it. I considered going back and trying to do one of the things like I've been doing, just playing through the whole series. Maybe I'll do that at some point.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, this is good. There should be more of this. And as far as what Dave said about the price, I think this is fair. I think that in the article, people saying like, oh, it being $20 less might ease your. I don't know. Who cares? Like $20, $50 for a game of this length is reasonable to any reasonable person. And especially of this caliber. Like, I mean, just watch the trailer. Like, clearly there's been love put into this sort of thing. So yeah, I'm all about this. I wish this was more of a thing. And with how the gaming industry was going, all these trends we're seeing, people are saying games are too expensive to make, they're too long. We need more of this. We need a lot more of this, please. Might not be everybody's cup of tea. Some people do want to just get lost in the Witchers and the Assassin's Creed Odysseys of gaming and just put an entire year into something. But we're playing a lot, so this is perfect. This is perfect to dip in, get a really good experience that's meaningful, that's impactful, that's beautiful, and jump out. I love it.
Yeah, honestly, it comes to a point with me where like if a game is much over 20 hours and it's like a single player game, I'm like, I'll get to it eventually. Or I just get it and don't finish it. I get wiped out. I'm just getting to that point in my life where I'll play longer games, don't get me wrong, but I just don't have the desire as much as I used to. Now, throw a live service in front of me and I'm probably got 500 hours in it, But it's just something mentality-wise that if I can play with my buddies, it doesn't matter how long I'm playing it because I'm hanging out with my buddies, that kind of thing. But I do remember, like, there was a time probably, I don't know, early, late 2000s and early 2010s where, like, there were a lot of games coming out at, like, 6 hours. And people were complaining that they were $60 games. And art is still art. If it's great, it's great. But I can understand that more from like was this worth $10 an hour? I personally think if the game's good, yes, it's worth $10 an hour. Like there's some games in my life that I've played that I would have gladly paid $100 an hour if I could have afforded it, But so I think like thinking 10 hours, like double that now is too short for some people. And it less than the full price of a normal game. I think it's fine. Edward Walton brings up, why can't we consider $50 full price? That's not cheap still. And you're 100% right, Edward. I totally agree that $50 is not cheap. And that's still a decision for me. And I think most of us is that like, you throw a $20 game at me, if it's got even like semi-decent reviews or it looks interesting to me, I'm probably going to go for it. But make it $50. It doesn't matter how good it is. It might just have to wait until I'm ready for it, until I'm ready to be able to pull the trigger. But I think just the reason we use that wording is full price games means as much as industry standard for a large game. We see AA and AAA games launch at $70, $80 all the time now. So saying full price, I think, indicates that and not the other. I think we could shift to a language where we say, like, we just name the price, and then if it's discounted, we call it discounted, and if it's the price it came out at, it's full price. But that's not a battle I'm willing to fight. I think full price is just going to be whatever the industry standard is for a full game. That's what we call it. So this is a discount title.
Yeah, doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. $50. I mean, when I was like in high school and college, $60 was the most expensive a natural game would be, and like that was a lot of money. It's still not a little amount of money either. Like, I know that in comparison to inflation and everything else, like we're paying less for games technically, but like, I'm sorry, as a man with a mortgage and a couple kids and a family, I still got to think about. It's not a impulse buy for me to buy a $50 game at this point in my life, and for most people, it's not. I think,
dude, you could easily spend like almost half of that at the Taco Bell drive-through if you get meals. Like I don't know anymore. It's just like, not that.
I'm not saying it's not worth it, but I also don't go to Taco Bell real often.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Everything's expensive now.
We had like a night where my oldest was going to be somewhere with friends, and for my youngest, we were like, well, let's just get dinner and do what you want. And we ended up spending we went and got. He wanted to get McDonald's, so we got McDonald's, and then he wanted to get ice cream from the store, and ended up, we ended up spending like $60 just to come home and watch TV, like eating fast food for three of us.
It's crazy, bro. Just go to Chili's.
That's, I at least enjoyed my $60 I spent. I didn't. You can't go to McDonald's cheap anymore. That's why I also never go to McDonald's anymore. Let's move on. Call of Duty developer Raven Software has signed the first union contract. They've secured a contract for their union after 3 years of work. Pause for a second. I just got to make an announcement here. I spent like a week agonizing over my flight for Gamescom, and I ended up booking with Canada Air because it just ended up being the best timing, the best
Air Canada.
Air Canada. Doesn't matter. It's backwards because of the translation.
And they're going
so I ended up booking with them, and then like 2 days later, I saw a thing that was like Air Canada might be going on, or Canada, whatever it's called, might be going on strike. And I was like, well, I think I'm going to be able to get to Germany. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get home. I mean, they'll book you another flight, whatever. But it was just funny because I spent like so long poring over it and like agonizing over this price, even though I'm not the one. I was trying to get the best deal, and I'm not the one paying for it because that's just how I spend my company's money. Is the way I would spend my money when I'm booking travel. So,
Ben, if I can interject for a second,
just spent more.
I know people generally gripe over airlines, but I'll just say anecdotally that Air Canada is one of those carriers that I generally try to avoid, and strike or no strike.
Yeah.
So just
thanks for letting me know after I've already booked my flight. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's why it was cheap.
Air Canada.
That's why it was cheap.
It wasn't cheap. It was just comparable to everything else, and the timing worked out the best.
Right.
So
did they just play rerun hockey games on the TVs the whole time? Is that
no? You have to play. You have to play hockey on the plane.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
There you go.
Dave, now I'm like all great. Now I'm flying on an airline that might not get me home, and they suck.
Well, you should be stuck in Germany. Like,
do you remember the part where I was talking about like having a family earlier?
I mean,
they'll be fine.
We'll take care of them.
Anyway, I thought about that because they're talking about unions striking, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, workers at Raven unanimously voted to ratify their first union contract between Game Workers Alliance, CWA members, and Microsoft, according to a press release from the Communication Workers of America. The collective bargaining agreement secures a few conditions for the 19 quality assurance testers at Raven. This includes a 10% wage increase over 2 years, along with additional raises through merit and promotion. CWA says this follows 18 months without wage increases and 45 months without promotions. The contract also addresses crunch time, with 7 days notice required for mandatory overtime, no excessive overtime on back-to-back weeks, flexible scheduling of overtime, and no mandatory overtime of any duration for the majority of weeks in a quarter. Finally, the contract includes provisions for bridging of time worked as contract and temp employees with defined job descriptions, a fair promotions process, expanded disability accommodations, and layoff protections. This comes after 3 years of organizing and bargaining, according to QA tester Aaron Hall. From day one, we made it a priority to include every voice in the room, and the contract we came out with reflects what we need: better pay, real career paths, and protection from burnout. It's a contract that actually values the work QA does. I'm proud of what we accomplished, and I hope it shows other game workers that organizing works and it's worth it. Dave, thoughts?
My first thought is this coming from a relatively larger studio in the industry, hopefully sets the precedence for the rest of the industry. Now, we've talked a lot about rising game development over the past several years, and this does nothing good for the cost of game development. But what I think it does is it starts to shrink the ground around the feet of the bad actors in the industry who like to use high development costs as a scapegoat to do everything from, maintaining a shitty work environment to cutting corners to laying people off. And we've talked a lot about games launching in pretty shitty states for a long time, and this just kind of underlines how important this particular job is in the gaming industry. So I think it's important that these positions are protected and these people have protection from shitty work environments, which, I always thought union protection was more for, really dangerous jobs like factory work and firefighters and stuff like that. But the reality is, management abuse and greed has made it so this sort of action is necessitated, and it's necessitated in this industry because grind and burnout are real things. So I hope we see more of this, because the more of this we see, the less bad management we see in the industry. And bad management, I think, is often the cause for shitty products and disappointing products and canceled projects in video games. So yeah, a lot of people kind of groan at unions, but I think in this respect, with the amount of layoffs we've seen over the past little while, this is a really good thing. So hopefully there's more to come.
Brandon, what say you?
This is one up for the humans with the amount of AI that we've been seeing in the gaming industry. I think it's finally good to see something positive happen in the gaming industry, period, let alone something for people and not a push for some sort of clanker propaganda. So yeah, this is a big win. I'm hoping this means that we get better QA out of Ravensoft, because ultimately when you have happy employees that are healthy and not burn out, you get a better product. And a lot of people that own businesses and make shots and, move the money don't really quite understand that. When people are paid well, they're treated well, and they have, pride in their work and what they're doing, and they see a good future there, then the product is better. And that's kind of just unanimous across the board. So happy to see it. It's been a long time coming. And like Dave said, especially because it's kind of a big guy in the industry, Ravensoft working with Call of Duty. It's not exactly some sort of niche small studio. I think this is good for everybody.
Cool. Larian Studios shares Baldur's Gate 3 rare choices and stats for their second anniversary. This comes from GameSpot, and it says, 2 years ago, Baldur's Gate was released out of early access. It didn't say that, but I'm saying it. And quickly became one of the most popular RPG games of all time. Or I'm sorry, it says of this generation. Now, Larian is sharing some of the rare choices and other stats that it has compiled from players' choices during the last 2 years. Only 2.07% of all players managed to beat 20 opponents while drunk, and 1.82% of players earned 100 gold from performing music. Larian posted several infographics on the Steam page for Baldur's Gate 3, including the fact that 3.87% of players beat Gortash in Worms Rock without activating any traps, and 500,000 players have completed the game in Honor Mode, compared to 1.1 million players who beat the game in Tactician Mode. Out of the Honor Mode players, only 4,647 players beat it with a level 1 character. That's kind of crazy. When it came time to pick the most respect companions, the outcome wasn't a surprise. Shadowheart led the way with 4.89 million players, who were apparently evenly split between using her as a life cleric or a death cleric. Will was the second most respect companion with 1.4 million players, while Gale finished in third with 684,000. For some truly obscure choices, only 350 players respect Minsk into a death domain cleric, and there were 598 players who adopted a child with Will. According to Larian, the studio is also going to expand the official toolkit for mods. Over 8,500 Baldur's Gate 3 mods have been created since September 2024, with over 265 million mod downloads. Brandon, you, I think, of all of us, have spent the most amount of time in Baldur's Gate 3. Did you get a chance to look at any of these stats, or do you have any weird ones of your own to share, perhaps?
I think maybe my weirdest stat is the amount of time I've sunk into the game without beating it. I think that, pushing 200 hours and still not finishing any of my multiple playthroughs is kind of mind-boggling to me. And not the first time that I've had a game like this where I've put so much time into so many characters and never saw it through to the end. Aside from weird stats, no, nothing really incredible. I know there's stuff that even as you're reading some of these off, like I wouldn't have even thought would be an achievement. Like, I mean, why wouldn't it be an achievement that you could get drunk and kill people, right?
Yeah.
And then the whole
I don't know if that's an official achievement or if it's...
Is it?
I don't know if it is or not, I'm saying.
It's trackable in some way by them, so
yeah.
I feel like that it might be.
Right.
But yeah, man, this is really the gift that keeps on giving. Truly a generational game in all senses of the word. Yeah, I would advise anyone who's not checked it out, even if it's not your cup of tea, even if it's not your game. I've talked a lot about this game, but it was never something that really interested me. And I'll be talking about something else I'm playing that's very similar in many ways, for obvious reasons later. But it kind of got me into this style of game. And yeah, just every time seems to be a bit different. It's one of those games that no matter how much you play it, it just has so much to give.
Dave, did you have any comments or thoughts on it? I know you haven't played the game, but...
No, so I haven't played it, but I know you both have played it, and Brandon's obviously played a decent amount of it. And I think you've played, you said you were playing some with like your brother fairly recently. And I love when studios release these kind of figures and stats on their games on like weird shit people have done. So I just thought it would be a fun thing to talk about. And I'm sure I will play it one day, in spite of my lack of interest in CRPGs, but yeah, it's fun to look at this stuff sometimes, even though I have no idea what any of it means. The one funny one was like the amount of people who have defeated enemies while drunk.
Yeah.
So what happens when you're drunk? Like your controls are just all messed up, or?
I don't even know. Unlike real life, I kind of tend to stay away from alcohol in video games because there's no real consequences when I'm doing it in real life, right? It just happens. But I don't want my in-game character to be not functioning,
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been drunk in Baldur's Gate.
Me neither. I haven't either.
Yeah.
I hardly eat food in Baldur's Gate. I eat when I rest in the evening because it makes you consume either a pack or food. But then aside from that, I usually just have my healers heal me.
Brandon, they talked about the mods and everything. I was just curious if you've used any Baldur's Gate mods.
Yeah. So,
other than the NSFW ones.
No. I actually don't think so. Unless you download like a separate mod client, they've made it really convenient in game. You can add mods, even on console, which is awesome. I don't think that's an option in the in-game mod, and I really have only really fooled around with exterior mod clients like once or twice to play what do we play? Lethal Company with more people than we were supposed to. I think that was one of the only times I've done that. And then the Elden Ring multiplayer mod was all I did. So no, I've not really messed around with that a whole lot, but I did do a couple things in this most recent playthrough with my brother and his girlfriend to make it easier for us. I made the XP more just to kind of, they hadn't played a game like that, and I was really trying to get my brother into it. So I made it a little bit easier for us. It's only so easy because there is a level cap. We just reached it a little bit sooner, really. And then I turned on polygamy mod so people don't get pissed. I could like do multiple branches of romance without other people getting mad about it. So that's it.
That's definitely the only reason you did that, right?
Dude, I mean,
Just
listen, dude, I got to be getting it from all angles. You know what I'm saying? No, I felt kind of bad. I think I missed something in my Karlach playthrough, and there's like a prompt that like because it's a mod, you like click on this extra button in your toolkit that's like with the spells, and I was like shit, and I was like, all right, put it in relationship with Karlach, and then like I did, you like saw the little bit of code or whatever come up, and then it's like Karlach had sex with me the next evening and like went on a date with me. Like this feels a little bit wrong. And then there's a devil lady, Missoura, who's like holding Will hostage, right? And at one point, she tried to like seduce me, and I was like, "Oh, it's fine. I have this polygamy mod on. Nobody gets mad." And so I'm just gonna go see what happens because she's batshit crazy, and it was insane, boning the Missoura lady. But then afterwards, there was a separate toggle for some reason to not make people mad when you do that. And so I reloaded the save, toggled the code, and then redid it again. Didn't watch the full cutscene, some of it, but
do the mods, at least the mods you've used, do they disable Steam achievements as well?
I believe they do. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe they do. It's pretty popular for like exterior mods to like. There's usually a mod that says don't disable Steam achievements. But everything I've done in that playthrough, it doesn't rule me out for like other playthroughs, but because it's a modded playthrough, it does disable them for that one. So,
yeah. All right, let's talk about what we've been playing. And Brandon, I'll let you go first since you kind of have something that's related to this.
Yeah, so I picked up Divinity Original Sin 2. Well, I guess I didn't pick it up. I just downloaded it. But I had never played this game. I had heard a lot of people talk about it. Our buddy Justin has quite a few hours on it. A couple other people on my Steam's friend list have checked it out. And it's usually hard for me to go back and play games that are like fairly similar to a game I love, but are the last iteration of that. But I've been having a decent time. It definitely has the heart and soul of Baldur's Gate in it. I could see why they were asked because it feels a lot like Baldur's Gate in a lot of ways, but it's really cool to see how they very heftily borrowed from their old knowledge, but also improved it in such a significant way. So not having the played out cutscenes, just walking up to somebody and then the camera not changing to like a cutscene and you're talking to them in dialogue kind of sucks. It's a really awesome addition, obviously, that they added with that game and is a lot of work. Yeah, it's been cool. I don't know how long I'm going to fuck with it, but it was a small game, and so I put it on my laptop. That was also part of the reason I was searching for a new game to play on my laptop, and I was going to download Baldur's Gate, but literally it's so big that my laptop literally can't fit it. Even with almost everything deleted off of it. So, yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. I'm excited to check it out here and there more. It seems to be another game that kind of is something you could sink a lot of time into. I think our buddy Justin has like 60 some hours in it. So who knows if I'll keep up with it. But I have enjoyed what little bit I have played of it. Maybe I have like less than 10 out, between 5 and 10, maybe something like that. So
cool.
But that, and I did complete RE7 and RE8 this week. So I officially am one game away from completing my yearly challenge.
What game do you have left?
6. I'm still working on 6.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually played more of 6 today. I'm almost done with Chris's playthrough. I'm not going to keep bitching about this game, but it's like pulling teeth, really. I decided part of the way through 6, because I am playing it with somebody and I want to continue to do that, that I was kind of... It didn't make sense not to do them in tandem, and it was good because like in 4 days I beat out, I knocked out 7 and 8. So 7 and 8, true masterpieces. I know that Dave didn't think 8 was very scary, and I think it's scary in a different way. It's very tense, whereas the other ones feel frightening, but 8 is very tense very often. Masterfully made, and I am even more excited to play 9 now when it comes out. So I did play RE8 in the third-person mode, which was really cool. It was just kind of cool to see a different perspective, see the back of Ethan's head for the whole game was kind of cool. Yeah, top notch. Absolute top notch. I love these games. I love the RE series. Yeah, and we'll see where it goes. I still plan to play more RE. More to come.
Cool. Davey, you're up next.
So I've played a few things this week. First thing I want to talk about is a game called Atomic Owl. Full disclosure, again, I said this a couple weeks ago about a game I talked about, but I assisted the developer in the promotion of this game, the launch promotion of this game. So technically I have a bias here, but I'm still going to talk about the game because there's really cool things about it. So Atomic Owl, it's a 2D roguelite. And honestly, this is one of the most visually stunning games I've played in a long time. It has I think, like a synthwave, like neon, like look to it that is just it's very gripping. And having played a decent chunk of it, it's something that's hard to stop looking at, even if you're just kind of looking at screenshots. One of the interesting things from a design standpoint is this being a 2D game. The zoom on the image is further out than you'd expect, and I think the reception to this has been mixed, but I'm on the fence of I actually really like it, because in a game as kind of visually appealing as this, I think the more of the environment that you can see in one frame, it kind of adds to the experience. And yeah, your guy is a little bit smaller than you might be used to, but it didn't really bother me that much. The soundtrack in this game is also incredible. It's done by an artist named Xenon, and the soundtrack is also available for sale, and that's a good thing because it's the sort of thing you might want to listen to on the side. So yeah, it's a really fun game. Basically you die, you start again, and you keep a bunch of upgrades to make your path forward a little bit easier. I think there's like 4 or 5 bosses that you have to beat to complete the game. You have 4 different weapons you can use. You have like a hammer that you throw, you have like a sword, you have like a whip, and then you have like a range sort of nunchuck thing you can throw at enemies further away. And I found myself switching through these weapons quite a bit. I didn't really feel like I had one that was my favorite, but more I just found different situations that kind of worked for the different weapons. So there's some nice way to kind of change up the gameplay there. It's a tough platformer too. Like it's the sort of thing where you're going to fall and die a lot. Luckily, when you fall in kind of the pits or whatever, you don't start from the beginning. You just kind of lose a little bit of health. So if you're into more challenging platformers, I think this is a good one too. So one of the influences for the developer of this game was Metroid Dread, and I think that definitely comes through in some of the gameplay elements. But yeah, I have a bias with this game, definitely. But one of the reasons why we started to work with this guy was because of just how striking the game looked, and really had a fun time enjoying the final product that came out. And it was kind of cool to see the behind the scenes of how much work was actually going into this game. Not just for several years, but even just towards the bitter end. So congrats to the team over at Monster Theater Games and Atomic Owl. I think it's $20 or something. So it's an indie game that's definitely worth checking out. The other thing I popped into my Xbox 360 this week was Marvel Ultimate Alliance, the first one. I I played a little bit of the second one several years ago with my friend Duncan on our PS3s. This is a perfect game for co-op. But I was curious to kind of see how a game that had, you know, was the oldest in the series would have aged, and it's just fun. I find myself playing a lot as Wolverine and Moon Knight just because I think they're cool characters to play with. And it's just simple. Like you kind of have a couple of special attacks, a light attack, a heavy attack, and I'm not really into like playing around too much with the combinations or having to level up every single character. I'm more just like I want to find like one or two favorites and just kind of play through the game. So yeah, I'm thinking I've thought about adding Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 to my Switch library for a really long time, and I haven't. That's one of those games that just doesn't go down in price, but I think I may have to jump into that soon because this game it's just fun. Some of the character models though have not aged well at all, particularly Iron Man. When you see those like knockoff Chinese action figures that like it's not actually that character, but it's supposed to look like them. Iron Man looks like that in his own game where he's supposed to look like he's actually supposed to be Iron Man. So, but I'll give it some grace. It's a really old game, and I think it was trying to be kind of comic book-y looking, but also realistic for its time. And it's kind of cool to go back and see what Marvel properties were like before the MCU, because it was a lot different, obviously. So yeah, Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I'm going to play some more of that, definitely. The last thing
Crazy that was 2006, by the way.
It was 06. Wow. Okay.
That was crazy.
Yeah. So much fun. Last thing is I jumped into Deep Rock Galactic. Rock and Stone, fellas. We got to do it for Carl.
That's right.
The summer events, seasonal event started this week, and I got to say, I think they're running out of ideas because all of the seasonal events that I've done over the past year are pretty much the exact same thing. You have to complete an assignment to get a seasonal hat. For Halloween, there was like a wolf's mask, and I can't remember what else for Christmas. There was another one for St. Patrick's Day, and for summer, it's just like a pool noodle. Like everything's beach themed. The other thing they seem to do in every seasonal event is when you're in dives, there'll be like some collectible that you'll find hidden in a cave. If you find it and deposit it on Molly, then you get double season XP when you finish the mission. And the space rig is all decorated. The one that I think the coolest thing was they have throwable water balloons on the space rig, but that's kind of it. I really think that they've kind of stopped doing a whole lot in Deep Rock Galactic in terms of changing the game, which they don't necessarily need to, but I think the last season we had Drilling Deeper that added some mission types and stuff. But I like jumping in and getting the seasonal stuff, but it's the other thing they do is every time they have a seasonal thing, they also give you access to all the previous seasons, which is cool. But it also it's kind of feels like padding to me. Like it's like, this year's seasonal grind isn't a big deal, so we're going to give you access to all the old stuff too, just so you have some more stuff to do. But yeah, it's Deep Rock. It's still fun. I think a lot of the team has probably transferred over to Rogue Core, which I still don't have an invite to the closed beta. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for me.
Cool. I probably should have gone first because I have very little to talk about, but I didn't. So sorry. Continuing to play Hunt Showdown. Like halfway through Prestige 11 now, if anybody's still keeping track. Finished up, well, almost entirely finished up the event, the battle pass. There's like a full battle pass, and then there's one extra thing at the end that's a charm for a gun that I never use the charms on any guns. I don't like the way they look. And it's like an extra, as much as it takes to get like 15 levels in the battle pass, it's like that much XP just for that one reward at the end. It's just a way for people who finish to sink a little more time into it before they dip out. I don't know if I'll get it or not, and I don't really care because I won't use it. But regardless, I finished that up, and I love the game. Every time I play it, I hate everyone around me so much. but I still keep coming back to it. Warzone, I dropped in a few times. Dropped in. I didn't mean to do that. A few times this week with my buddy Justin. And Brandon, did you play with us one night? I can't remember. I think we talked about it, but I don't know if we actually ended up playing.
I played with you one night. I can't remember if it was last week or this week, but
okay,
yeah, 2 weeks ago or last week, yeah.
Whatever it was, it's all good. Played a little more Warzone. It's Warzone. The hacking is really bad, even in the pleb lobbies I'm in, and I'm playing in casuals, so it's even less. Supposed to be less hardcore. And it's just brutal, man. Like, I know I've not played the game for a long time, and I've never been the best at the game, of course, but I'm decent. I'm like pretty good, just not upper echelon tier. And some of these guys are just so sweaty, and then the ones who aren't sweaty are hacking. So it kind of sucks, but like it scratches an itch, right? So that's something. And then I was just like going through Steam, and one day, and I saw like a notification. I had a notification that I had wish listed Power Wash Simulator. I think I'd gotten out. I played that one originally on Game Pass on PC, and then I bought the DLCs, and then I eventually just bought the game because I didn't want to have the DLCs and not the game. So they suckered me in 3 different ways on that one. And then I didn't have it on Steam. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy it on Steam because it was $12 for one of my favorite games of all time. Didn't buy all the DLC. I probably will eventually. Let's just be real about it. But I don't know. I just hopped in, power washed a few levels, and hopped back out. It's one of those things that, like, I often talk about this. These games I play, like, oh, I know I'm probably going to go to bed about half an hour, but I just need some unwinding time, like some just time to mindlessly zone out. And that's Power Wash Simulator, because there's nothing Power Wash Simulator is good for if it's not good for just mindlessly zoning out. And I don't know, it's just very relaxing to me. I still like to claim, even though it's probably not true, that I was the original Power Wash Simulator influencer. Pre-launch, I was like, I'm so excited for this game, and I remember getting like a flurry of tweets back at me that was like, "Are you stupid? This game looks lame." And that game has probably sold millions of copies at this point, and it has a sequel coming out. So I'm just gonna say, I knew it.
Ahead of your time.
Ahead of my time. And that's all I got. That's all we got. That's it for the show this week. We appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. Don't forget, you can go over and support us on Patreon at patreon.com/handsomephantom for as little as $1 a month. It's so freaking cheap, guys. Look, you don't have to support us, but like if you're thinking that's too much money, it's not. I promise it's not. It's not a lot of money. And you can join our Discord at handsomephantom.com/Discord. Hang out with us there. We appreciate it. Anything else before we go, boys? Or should we close her out?
That's it.
Let's shut this baby down. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.